What is up guys, it's Jordan here and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're doing another Rainbow Six Siege video. We're going to be doing a guide on how to win ranked games, and this will be the advanced version. I've done a video like this before called how to get out of gold, and that was going over some very basic things, and it did do very well, but a lot of people wanted me to go a bit more in depth and go into some more advanced things, so that's what we're going to be doing in this video. So I hope you guys do enjoy it and I hope it helps you out. So as you start to get into the higher leagues in Rainbow Six Siege, it's a good idea to start playing with a team that communicate well. Communication is key in Siege, it literally is everything. I don't just simply mean talking to one another about what's going on the map. There is a lot more to it and I will get into everything in this video. The key thing about communication in Rainbow Six Siege is providing intel to your teammates. Your teammates are one of the biggest things you have in Siege. Lone wolves never do as well as a well-organized team that are trading intel amongst one another. And by trading intel I mean things such as calling out targets, calling out where enemies are, if they're roaming, what they're doing, where areas are defended and where not to go. Matches in Siege can get very intense and sometimes it's impossible to know exactly what's going on in every corner of the map by yourself. In fact, most of the time it's impossible to know everything. Having a team that communicates well and spots things for you makes it so much easier because it means you need to spend less time on your drone trying to figure out everything, and you can spend more time actually in the game and doing your part for the team. If your team doesn't call out anything, you have to use your drone to try and figure out as much as you possibly can throughout the map, which means you're going to spend a lot of time exposed using your drone. Having teammates that work like this together will increase that team's overall map awareness, and map awareness is a big thing that I want to talk about because I feel like personally it factors massively into whether or not you will win or lose a ranked game. The more you know about what's going on in the map, the better you can play off of that. Put it this way, if you have an entire team of enemies in one room all holed up and you get a drone in there with all your teammates and you find out exactly where they're hiding, what reinforcements they have and what gadgets they're all using as well as what characters they're playing, you can then strategize with your team about exactly how you're going to play out this situation to put it into your favor. On the flip side, if your team aren't communicating and say for instance you're out of drones, you have no way of physically knowing what's going on in that room or where the enemy are, you're going to be going in completely blind. For all you know, someone could come up behind you roaming and take you out from behind. You could burst into the room and end up looking in the wrong corner and get picked off from someone hiding in the opposite corner. There's so many different things that can happen if you don't have map awareness. This also leads me on to my point for attackers, which is talking about cameras. I still see a lot of teams that don't take out the cameras at the beginning of a round. Now, the crucial thing to remember is you guys need to have as much map awareness as possible and you need to limit the other team's map awareness as much as you possibly can. This works for both attackers and defenders. Attackers, like I said, make sure you take out every single camera you see. You don't want the enemies to know where you are at all. If they know where you are, they will be ready and prepared. If you keep them blind, you can pretty much do whatever you want in the map without being detected, which gives you a lot of time to plan, prepare and strategize. On the defender side of things, it's crucial to take out drones. Lots of people just start putting up walls and putting down barbed wire and etc. Taking out the drones is almost as important as, in fact it's more important, because that way you're making sure the attackers are limited on what they can see. I hear a lot of people talking about how it doesn't matter because the maps are so small and so well known now that the enemies are still going to know which room you chose to defend. That doesn't matter. They can know exactly where you are but still not know where you're hiding. It doesn't matter if they know where the hostage is, it just matters that they can't see where you're hiding. If you forget to take out the enemy drones at the beginning, they're then going to have 2 drones each, which basically means that for the entirety of the round they're going to have full access around the map with drones and will be able to see every single corner of it, making it very difficult to hide and ambush. So if you are able to take out as many of the drones as possible, it gives you a lot more freedom to move around the map undetected. So now we're going to move on to some attacking specific points and things that you can do when attacking. So the first one is make sure you check all the floors. Don't just breach straight into the objective room, breach from a different floor and go through it and make sure it is completely clear. Get your teammates to check some of the other floors, make sure that there is no chance that anyone can come up behind you because there will be people roaming. Roaming is a commonly used tactic and nothing sucks more than getting killed from behind when you're about to breach into a room and potentially pick up some kills. Another good tactic that I use regularly when I'm playing in some ranked matches is to make sure to open up as much of the objective room as you physically can. This means get sledge, get thermite, get whoever you can and start opening up the walls, because this will then cause the enemies inside to panic and scramble a bit, and if you're lucky and you know exactly where the spots are, you can even prevent enemies from hiding in some commonly used spaces that are good and easy to defend. The key idea behind doing this is that you're going to panic the enemy and give you some more control over the map. Having partial control over the objective room and where the enemies can or can't hide inside is absolutely crucial to winning. It allows you to limit the number of spaces the enemies can possibly hide in, which is an absolutely massive advantage when it comes to breaching into a room. So if you manage to pull off map control successfully and have control over the enemy's movement or partial control over it, you're going to be in a much stronger position when it comes to attacking. So I've talked a lot about what you can do as a team to effectively try and win a game, whereas now I'm going to talk about some things that you can do personally as an individual player. One of the best things that I can suggest is to never ever be predictable. Never let the enemy know what your playstyle is because they will see it coming and predict it. Every round try and change it up a little bit. For instance, start the game off slow, try and be quiet, try and sneak through the building and catch the enemy by surprise. They might not see it coming in the first few rounds because they're still going to be figuring out how you play. Whereas if you get to like the second round and you've done that twice, they're going to predict it. They're going to think, oh okay, these people are going to be like the quiet attackers, they're going to push slowly, so we can just wait it out. We don't need to be too aggressive because they'll come to us eventually nice and slow. And then bam, on like round 3 or 4, whenever you're next attacking, don't go as slow, be a bit more pushy, be a bit more brave, put some pressure on the enemies. They're going to be sort of hiding in corners expecting you to come through slowly, whereas if you start to push and be a bit more aggressive, they're going to be slightly panicked because they won't see it coming, and you're going to have the element of surprise. So overall, you'll catch them off guard a bit, you'll put on an immense amount of pressure because they won't be expecting it, which will give you a massive advantage. This applies to defenders as well. Don't do the same thing every round. Don't sit in the same room every time, like the objective room. Don't always camp the objective. Maybe every now and again, like every other round, do some roaming or go into a room near the objective. Every round goes somewhere slightly different. You don't want the attackers to know where you're going to be every single round. Some other tips you can do and things to keep in mind when you're playing is to pre-fire. Pre-fire is a great way to get a kill if you have a feeling that someone is around a corner. Instead of peeking very slowly to see if they're there, just go around and pre-fire. Yes, you'll give away your position, but if you're 100% adamant or very sure that someone is there, you're more likely to get a kill instead of getting killed. However, don't use this tactic every single time because obviously it will give away your position. Only use this if you are not too bothered about being quiet and you're pretty sure that someone is around the corner. If you're not too sure but you want to still have an advantage over the other side of the room without actually giving away your position, always make sure to aim when you're peeking around a corner. Never peek a corner with hip fire because if someone is already aiming at that doorway that you're peeking, they will kill you instantly, whereas if you're already aiming, it only takes one click to get a headshot. Another tactic that I like to do quite a lot is when I'm coming up to the objective room and I'm attacking, I like to sometimes spray and pray through a wall that's undefended or a door. This will do one of two things. If you're very lucky, you'll get a couple of good hits in or maybe even a kill, or secondly, it will scramble the enemies. It might give off the illusion that you're aware of where they are. They're going to panic a little bit, they're going to move around and run, which generates noise, which allows you to hear where they are. So either way, you're going to get a good effect. You're either going to scramble them and be able to better understand where they are, or you could even get a kill or an injure if you're very lucky. Finally, I want to talk about equipment. Equipment is something that is often looked over. I see people very regularly forgetting to use flashbangs or smoke grenades or things like that. People always use grenades, that's obvious because they're a good way to get kills. But see, people seem to forget that flashbangs and smoke grenades can be extremely effective in certain situations. For instance, a brilliant way to use the flash grenade is not to actually use it the traditional way of throwing it into a room, flashing, and then breaching the room. A good thing to do is if you have a feeling that someone is aiming at a door and waiting for you to come in, throw the flash grenade in, run up to the door, but don't actually go in, and then the person will most likely start blind firing at the door because they will be blinded, but they'll be thinking that you're coming in. Although you're not actually in the room, so you won't get shot at, you'll be able to very easily see where the bullets are coming from. So this is going to expose the enemy without having to use a drone or anything like that. So it's a really good way to get some intel on some enemies inside a room without going inside. So in summary, all of these points together have really helped me win some games in ranked and get me into the higher leagues. There is so much more I can talk about, but in the interest of time, I'm going to cut this video off at this point. I will definitely make a follow-up to this because there is just so many different things I can talk about, but I could end up making a half-an-hour video on that, and I really don't want to make this too long. So anyway guys, I hope you did enjoy this video, and I really hope it helps you out. If you did enjoy it, I'd really appreciate it if you smack that like button. It helps me out a bunch, and definitely subscribe if you want to see some more awesome content. I hope you guys will have a really nice weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.
Now get closer, I can feel her eyes touch, fires in your iris on divine stuff, making mad pictures in confinement, pinnacles aligning, force arises, magic in the flames of your mindset. You can feel the vibe get crazy when your eyes get lazy, naked in the flames, sucking on your minuscule pictures of the